NFL free agency begins now. What will the Buffalo Bills do? We're going to talk about that. Plenty more coming up right now on Talking Buffalo.
Welcome to Talking Buffalo, featuring conversations with guests from around the world of sports, media, pop culture, and all things Buffalo. With your host, Patrick Moran.
All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo sports talk and more. I'm your host, Patrick Moran. Thank you for watching, for listening, for following, for subscribing. Appreciate y'all very much. This is going to be a big week for the Buffalo Bills, a big week for the NFL. Here to talk about it with me and plenty more today, my buddy Joe from Queens. What's going on, dude? How you doing? It's been a hectic weekend, man. What's up?
Doing all right, man. How you doing?
Hectic, busy, crazy.
What are you hectic for?
Lot of stuff.
What'd you do all weekend?
A lot of stuff going on. So the short version, I don't want to bore people to tears right off the bat here to start the show, but stuff that we've had for years that was at my mother's house that we didn't bring back with us here. We got just a lot of stuff going on, man. My in-laws, their apartment, their house, I should say, more in-law, just so much moving, just craziness going on. And this weather here in Buffalo, dude, I know you're in New York City. Don't know how it's been for you, but this is like everything I love and hate about Buffalo in terms of the weather, all in like less than 48 hours. So Friday, 5 p.m., I'm literally, and I mean quite literally, driving around in a t-shirt, sweatpants, comfortable as hell, beautiful, it's gorgeous. About an hour or so before we tape this on a Sunday here at about roughly 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, I go to Big Lots. I got a hoodie on. It's over my head. It's freezing. It's windy as hell out. Cold. It's like Buffalo in just a complete nutshell. Beautiful one day and then quite literally the next, just nasty out. But that's Buffalo, I guess.
Yeah, I was talking to my mom earlier today, and she said like it was snowing there, and I was like, "What? It's snowing?" And today in New York, it was like, right, it was like 50, but like it's supposed to be nice tomorrow and like going in the week over here. But that's global warming for you, or Buffalo, whatever you want to say. Pick your choice. I haven't done much. I've been given an order from the missus that I can't swear on this podcast because her and the baby are in the other room. So it's going to be a very, if you can keep track how many times I swear, which we're hoping it's 0. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. I try to sell her and go, look, when I'm talking the Bills, I lose it. and then I speak 2 languages, English and cursing. So this is going to be a PG. And it's funny because I'm saying that, and I'm like, okay, yeah, but when I'm watching my kid, like, I don't know where this came from, but basically, like, even though your baby doesn't like remember anything, like you don't remember anything when you're 1, obviously, but you consume everything in. So if you're swearing, it will get consumed by you. This is per my wife. I can't disagree with her, unfortunately. So when I'm watching, listening to podcasts and they're swearing while the baby's there, I'm like, and like I think you don't realize how much people swear on their podcasts until you start listening to them, and you're with your kid, your baby, and you're like, no swearing. You're like, oh my God, everyone swears. Like, we swear all the time on this podcast. That's all we do. Like it goes to rated X here. And I'm so, and this is, you got to go for a kinder, gentler look. And she's right. She's right, in terms of that, like when, you don't want to swear in front of a baby, that's probably not good, obviously. So I must have been a failure as a parent. Me and my wife. My parents were too, because they swore all the time.
Yeah, my son's 18, or now he's 21 now, and he's he's got a mouth like a trucker sometimes, not all the time.
Well, did he have a mouth when he was like 5? Like I definitely did.
He would ask if he would respectfully ask if he could swear. He would literally ask us, "Can I swear, Dad? Can I swear, Mom? Can I swear?" And then if we said, "Yeah, go ahead," which we always did, then he would say a swear word. So this is a one-time thing, though. Like this is a no swearing for today.
Yeah, we're gonna try.
Or if the baby's not around. But if the baby's not around, then all bets are off, right?
Yeah. I mean, I gotta do what you do and get like a soundproof room somewhere, You donate me your studio, buddy.
I do have this, like, if I were to say, but I don't know when you're going to swear, so I can't say you.
Yeah,
You know what
you should use that sound button. That would be great. You know.
Yeah. So anyway, isn't this, by the way, it's like the anniversary when you guys started dating?
Or no, it's our date anniversary. So our first date, which you know what? I swear, I think we talked about this last year when I was on the podcast. And I remember talking about, like, I asked you if you celebrated your date anniversary, and you're like, no.
That's right, we did.
We talked about that, and so we were gonna do something, but the weather was kind of crappy over here, and it's technically tomorrow, but because I got a new job, so I'm working West Coast hours, so I'm like 1 to 9, and she's at work, so it's kind of impossible to do anything.
Sure.
But date anniversary is kind of very low on the, I would say, like, you know, there's anniversary, there's, you know, wedding anniversary is top tier, probably, like, yeah, definitely, and then like when you probably officially asked her out, and then date anniversary, which I don't know that many people who celebrate.
I have a friend who used to always celebrate conception anniversary. Like, you remember the date where he had sex with his girlfriend, and which resulted in a child. He actually was their conception anniversary. Anyway, this is going off the rails, and we're only like 6 minutes in, so let's gotta get down to business here. We're gonna talk some Sabres, because they just continue to be an absolute enigma this season. But of course, the big news is NFL free agency, which by the time most people are hearing this will have already started, well, at least a tampering period, which is essentially the same thing. By Monday afternoon, you're going to hear about a bunch of deals. And let me preface this too. We're recording this Sunday around 6:30 p.m. I got to put that out there because there's still enough time left tonight for some deals to go down, maybe a trade, maybe the Bills.
We'll come back on at 11 o'clock tonight. I'm down to come on at 11 o'clock at night, and we have to retool and then go the Bills signed. Let me start here. Let's start here. I know we've talked about a little bit here and there, but now we're like literally free agency is here, which, by the way, went so quick. Doesn't it feel to you like the season just, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's just me, kind of feels like the season just ended. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it should be like already mid-March, and now we're already in the free agents, and the cutting period's over, and the re-signing period and all that stuff leading into free agency. We're already here. Just seems really fast to me. Or maybe that's just me. When you're a new father, there is no time. So yeah, maybe it is. I can't. I guess it was like. Does it feel like it was 2 months ago that the Bills lost in the playoff? It was 2 months. No, it was. I don't even know. January 22nd. So it was almost.
That was later January. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like it's kind of going fast. I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. I remember in the season being over, I was thinking about the show and plotting out episodes. And I remember we're like, well, state of the Bills, this and that, who might stay, who might go. And then we'd have like this free agent series where I'd have a bunch of episodes highlighting potential free agents. Never really came to fruition because now it's here already. So there's no sense of doing that. But let me start just by asking you, like, specifically with the Bills too, I guess. So free agency is starting like right now. What are you expecting right now with Brandon Beane and the Buffalo Bills? Let's start there.
I'm expecting some role guys on defense, and maybe a little bit like last year, where they'll get like, they got McKinney from Dallas, and that wasn't like a giant splash of a deal.
Oh, Connor McGovern, you mean? Oh, that was the
McGovern. My apologies, yeah. McGovern. Like, they'll get. It wasn't a huge deal. Like, he was like, oh, nice guy. He could start right away. They'll get a day one starter, and then they'll get a bunch of role guys, I think.
Yeah.
Fill it out. Yeah, that's where I see them. They gotta sign someone. I don't think they're gonna go in and not sign anyone. Like, what are you gonna do? You have a lot of free agents. I think they'll be a little bit active, but they're gonna be a lot of, unless you're like a hardcore, like you're combing the free agent list and you're probably a content producer or, someone who's just diehard, like, sure. you're probably like, a lot of these names are probably not. Oh, okay. I guess like you got to Google them and be like, okay, who is this guy or etc. But I feel like I definitely think what I would do if I was them is I would try to address defense a little bit in free, even though I want my offensive doom and I still do, but I'm putting myself in what I think they'll do. I think they will look towards defense like in free agency, and then maybe add like a veteran, another version of Sherfield or Harty, you know what I mean, in terms of a a wide receiver like in that low tier of football. That's what I think they'll do.
Last year, I remember day one of free agency, they definitely signed McGovern and they definitely signed Deonte Harty. Those were their first two signings from other teams. I think their
Yeah,
first move might have been to re-sign Siran Neal or something like that, or extend one of their special team guys.
sure.
So actually, if you're expecting something first, I would expect I'd be willing to almost bet money the first Bills move is going to be somebody who plays special teams. That seems to be the ammo.
God, they love that
Every single year.
nonsense. They love that nonsense. Thank
I
God.
I
Special teams.
I usually have it. It won't be one this week because again, there's just NFL free agency, so much stuff going on. We'll be on that pretty much all week. But typically, I've been doing Fan Friday shows where people could send in questions or comments about the Bills, the Sabres. I read them off, and then I give a take. I want to pull one up. Again, this was just one. It's not even a question. It's a suggestion. It's from at Bills our election, and he said, let's extend Deion Dawkins, re-sign DaQuan Jones and AJ Epinesa, then sign a free agent safety, D lineman, and wide receiver, then trade down from pick 28 to get more picks, being up. All right, let me. I read that one specifically because I think that dude's copying me for starters. I listened to the show last week. I pretty much said that last Friday's show, almost word for word, except for the end with the trading stuff. But I do agree. I've said this to you. And in fact, we didn't argue about it last week, but you're a little bit surprised, I should say, that I've said that when my number one priority for free agency is to re-sign DaQuan Jones. That remains. I don't know if it's going to happen. I said I'd like to re-sign AJ Epinesa as well. Get those two guys back, and now the core of your defensive line is back. And maybe you add somebody on day 2 of the draft or another depth guy or whatever. I think day one, I think from the outside, their first priority should be to add a good safety. I think that's where they're going to. If you're going to see a guy come in from another team that the Bills pay as low as 4, maybe as high as 7.5 million a year, somewhere around that, I think it's going to be for a starting Micah Hyde replacement at safety. And I mentioned Geno Stone from the Ravens. That's the guy I would really like. Brandon Jones is another guy. There's a handful of guys. I don't want to run down the list, but I think they're going to add a safety. I think that might be the quote unquote big free agent addition from the outside. I do think they're going to add a receiver in free agency. You know, I love Joe Biscaglia's work. I respect him. He's kind of almost advocating bringing back Trent Sherfield. I really hope that doesn't happen. I do think the Bills are going to look at the wide receiver market, but they're not going to go and pay big money for Calvin Ridley or somebody like that. I can see Brandon Beane waiting for that market to dry out a little bit, thin down, and then you get those second or third tier guys as free agents. That's where he might go. And then some defensive line help. But that sounds pretty reasonable, realistic, right? You can see that safety, wide receiver, a little D-line depth, like you said.
I could definitely see safety. It's the one position that you think about. Like they paid Poyer, they paid Hyde. They had him for 7 years. Beane wasn't there when they signed them, but that was McDermott's one of his first moves as head coach was he signed both of those guys in the
right.
The 2017 free agency class. So I could definitely see them going after a safety to put back there. They have Rapp already there. They could go for a younger guy in the draft, but I could definitely see them wanting that veteran presence back there. They don't really have a veteran secondary, in my opinion. Like they don't have a guy who's
not anymore.
Not anymore. Like they don't have that guy in the second contract, basically, for the most part. So I could definitely see them doing that. Look, we all know McDermott loves defensive ends. He wants 1,000 of them. That's been his thing forever. He needs that defensive line rotation to have 20 guys on there, or like 7, 8. But you guys get what I mean. But
yeah,
I definitely think that those are the two things that they're going to do in free agency. Which, again, I can deal with that. The trading back thing that the messenger guy said.
Yeah.
It depends what wide receiver they get. Like if they got like a good, really, like, we'll just say Calvin Ridley. We'll just throw him out there. I know it's not going to happen. Then I could see you trading back a little bit and going, okay, hey, let's go get some more picks. You would still have to go get a draft, like get a couple more wide receivers, maybe still. Like maybe you want to get like another one and another guy. Sure, if you go out and get like a guy who has a decent resume, if you go out there and you get Sherfield 2.0, then no, like, you probably shouldn't trade back. But wide receivers, you can find wide receivers anywhere in the first 2 rounds, like normally in an NFL draft. Like guys can come in the second round and play right away.
Mhm.
They could be impact guys, and some of them obviously can't, but it's the one position I think next to running back. I believe wide receivers is like the easiest transition to make from college to the pros, because you have wide receivers who are rookies who are studs, especially when they have like a really good quarterback like they have here with Josh Allen.
I agree with you. I don't agree about trading down. I do not think that's going to happen. I think it's far more likely Brandon Beane trades up. That's what he does.
Yeah.
And especially if the right receiver is there. I will say, in the unlikely event, just to play along with what you said, because you never know. Let's just say a Calvin Ridley type. Maybe it's not Calvin Ridley, but we all know who we're talking about. A guy who comes in at bare minimum. He's a elite number 2 receiver and more, a number 1 receiver. If the Bills were to pull that off, then I think the attention, and I know much to your dismay, I think the attention goes away from receiver to draft, at least early on, first, second round, maybe get to the third round, and then that makes your choice. When it comes to this team right now, I don't think there's a lot of holes. They need they need more depth, because that's where they're going to hurt. I've said this, man. They're losing a lot of good veterans in depth, but it's safety, it's receiver, and it's defensive line help, at least for now, because at least for this moment, DaQuan Jones is not on the Buffalo Bills as I speak. Neither is AJ Epinesa. They're really, really, really thin right now on the defensive line, and one of those guys who is signed is Von Miller. So, I do. By the way, Von Miller, how do you think he is going forward? Forget about what he did last year. It's over and done with. But what you think he's going to be right now, if he's 100% healthy, what you think he's going to be, that might also determine how much resources, free agency, in the draft the Bills dump in defensive end, edge.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't count on it that much. I mean, he's coming off of a major injury. He's still recovering. He's on the wrong side of his age, sadly.
Yeah, he's
I wouldn't
5 years older than Tre was. Yeah.
Yeah, like I wouldn't really count on him all that much. I mean, it'd be great if he did, but I would still, if again, they love their little defensive line 7-8 guy rotation. They don't have the guys right there up front, so they're gonna go get another guy. That's what they normally do, unless they've listened to me and they're like, the hell with that. Let's just try to blow teams out 45-30, which I doubt they will. But yeah, I see them doing that. The one thing you said, like, this team doesn't have a lot of holes. I guess that's true, but I think there's holes on I think there's places you can get better at. It's not like a glaring hole, but you can upgrade at certain spots, like at the wide receiver position. I think you can upgrade if you wanted to at the defensive line. Like, there are games last year where they got diced up. They got diced up by the Chiefs. They got diced up by the Eagles. Like, there are games there. Mac Jones, who just got traded for a 6th rounder, freaking did pretty well against them, for God's sake. So I don't want to sit there and go, well, everything's fine. Like, they just need depth. Like, they should want to do upgrades. Am I big?
Well, yeah. Well, they definitely need an upgrade at safety.
You can't run it back. You can't run it back, dude. You can run in the back.
Well, they've already lost too. They've already lost too much running back. Poyer's gone. Hyde's gone. I mean, we won't even count Tre White because he wasn't starter. Their starting center's gone. Which, by the way, we just talked about free agency for the last 10 minutes. They've been brought up center. I know they're bringing Connor McGovern or putting him at center, and David Edwards will probably start at guard. You can count on the Bills adding some competition on the interior offensive line, and do not dismiss, not in the first round, but do not dismiss a day 2 guard or center, which would be for a second straight year because they drafted Osiris Torrance. Then it's going to be interesting. I still maintain what I've been saying now for 2 weeks. To me, the perfect offseason is you get DaQuan Jones and Epinesa back, and you sign a good safety who's better than Hyde. So there's an upgrade right there. You said the team can use some upgrades. There's one right there. You sign Noah Brown at receiver. He's an upgrade. He's certainly an upgrade over Sherfield. And arguably, when given a chance, he could be as good as what we thought Gabe Davis would be. And you're still drafting a receiver in the first round. That's my old thing, too. You got to take a wide receiver in the first round. No matter what your other holes are, you got to take Brian Thomas Jr. or Adonai Mitchell, maybe Xavier Worthy, one of these guys, McConkey. You got to take one of these receivers in the first round. You have to do it.
I don't know about AJ Epinesa.
He's good.
He is, but I would rather. I'm going back. I could see them wanting to do that, but for me, if I'm like going like, why? Like, why are we bringing back? Why are we paying more defensive linemen? It hasn't worked. Like, stop doing that. Like, stop.
Yeah, but you got to have.
Swear, but
you got to have guys. You almost let one rip there.
No, but like I'm saying, they go get one in the third round or second, or get Floyd, like another version of Floyd, and like after free agency or after the draft ends.
I don't think they can afford that. Leonard Floyd, $7-8 million for a defensive end. I don't. Well, if they
weren't they against the cap last year when they signed him somehow and made room?
No, they had plenty of maneuverability. Plus, last week last year they were more willing. Brandon Beane was can kicking. He's not really can kicking. At least not to this point.
Well,
that could change.
We'll see when he goes to Josh Allen and see what they do with his.
Yeah, that's a done deal. That's already.
But I'm just saying, they could, like, get a guy. Like, I don't know. I would rather get just get role guys that are going to be like one hit wonders on the defensive line. Like 1 year they're here. You already got your three guys with Rousseau, Oliver, and Vaughn who are there. Like you sign another guy. You sign another guy long term. Like then it's like great. You know,
he's young. So if AJ Epinesa, let's just say the market wasn't quite what he thought it might be, which I disagree. And I would also predict, which I can sound like an idiot because he might sign before this even airs or the day of, but I predict AJ Epinesa is going to get more money than a lot of Bills fans think.
He will. I mean, look, he's those young. If you're young and you're solid, you're going to get paid on that first contract after it's up. Gabe Davis. Look, I think Gabe Davis is marginal. He's not a great wide receiver. He's going to get paid, especially like just because of his age.
Take a guess. Take a guess. By the way, I'm putting you on the spot. We didn't talk about this. Just take a guess. Take a stab. Who cares if you know or not? None of us know. Name it. No, don't forget about the money. Name a team. Where's Gabe Davis going to be? Come Wednesday. Let's just take a stab for the fun of it. Where's he going to be, man?
The Giants.
Ooh.
Goes back with Dable. Like they need wide receiver help. He goes there.
That's a good one. I've been thinking Houston, but that sounds Houston, really good.
I don't want. It was funny. Like I was thinking about this like a couple weeks ago. People were talking because like the Chiefs, have some cap room. I don't know about their cap room situation now because I know they just gave Chris Jones a monster deal. But like if he went there, I would be like, I badmouthed him a lot, and I don't want him there.
Don't count him out from signing with the Kansas City Chiefs. By the way, it could happen. They cut MVS, they cut Scanlon. They do have an opening.
They definitely are gonna. I feel like I'd be shocked if they don't add a wide receiver or two. But maybe they have they got their young guys there, Rice, and they're like, we'll go with them again. But
he'll have a market. I was surprised, by the way. I'm like, he's going to get a huge deal. The Bills will get a third-round pick next year. That's great. But we just found out this past week, Tremaine Edmonds, and I don't understand the science of it. I don't want to know. How does Tremaine Edmonds only net a fourth-round pick with the contract he got? That's big, bro.
It's because,
a 42 slot difference between that third and fourth rounder. That's a big blow to the Bills.
I wonder what sets them up. Like it was because like the Bills signed McGovern. That's a free agent last year. That counts. I wonder if they didn't sign Sherfield or Harty, like would that have put them in the third round? Because they were free agents. Because that was it. Like what was their free agent class was before the comps? Because I know Floyd came after, so that didn't count.
Floyd didn't count.
So who was it? Who were there? It was the two wide receivers, McGovern and Rapp. Right, Rapp was there in that free agent class. And
Taylor Rapp.
So like if you didn't decide just to let not trade sign Harty, maybe you were a third round pick then. I don't know, but
I don't know how that works either. But I do know all the experts, and I mean even the smart football people, everybody projected the Bills getting a third rounder. So I mean that's a 42 slot difference for the Bills. So that's a big deal, man. That might change. He might be thinking, I can get at the end of day 2, this position or this player might be there, but that's not going to be the case. So that might influence anything. But yeah, man. So I think to recap this part, we don't expect too much from the Bills in terms of it's not going to be splash.
Yeah.
But again, I'm going to maintain that. I think they bring an outside safety in. I'd also like to see Cam Lewis get re-signed because I think he's a good backup safety and he can play special teams. So
I'm ambivalent about that, but sure.
That's where we're going to go. Listen, I want to switch gears. Before we take a break here, Adam Schein, last week, I was on Mad Dog Radio over this past week, had a soundbite that was incredibly
It pissed off a lot of people.
It did piss off a lot of people. I want to make sure I pull up the right clip here and that I don't get it wrong. All right, I got it. I got it all queued up. I want people to hear this because I know a lot of people did not hear this. I'm going to play it on there and then I'll come back and I want to get your reaction to this because it's definitely rubbed some people the wrong way. Again, this is Adam Schein on Sirius Radio this past week about the Bills.
If not now, this year, having a flawed Kansas City team at home in Buffalo, finally for the postseason, where you have the lead on Kansas City at halftime. If you couldn't beat this version of the Kansas City Chiefs this year, when? No team was hotter going into the NFL postseason than the Buffalo Bills. This was supposed to be their year, their time to shine. And now, and look, I am going to give Brandon Beane, who I love, I'm going to give him a minute, right? I'm going to give him a minute to figure out the roster. I am not declaring the window closed. I am not declaring the Buffalo Bills dead. But I am declaring that the last 3 years are a complete and utter waste of time. And I've said all that in real time after the Buffalo Bills lost when they were 13 seconds away from beating Kansas City in Kansas City. And Sean McDermott fouled up that game. I did say as much in terms of the angry approach if you're a Bills fan after they got shredded on defense against Cincinnati, and that's how the season ended. And then you take a look at last year where the Buffalo Bills, when it looked bleak that they were even going to make the playoffs, and rattled off win after win after win, beat good teams, beat playoff-bound teams, went into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs in the regular season, thumped and embarrassed the Dallas Cowboys, beat Miami to win the division, and then you don't get it done? The fake punt with Damar Hamlin? Wait. What? I mean, I still think about that. Sean McDermott called a fake punt deep in his own territory with Damar Hamlin. What a sentence. I still don't even know what that means. Not to mention, obviously, opportunities that were missed and, Bass missed in the entire damn stadium on the field goal and everything that transpired.
All right, that was Adam Schein on his show this past week. Let me get your reaction. What you hear that? What do you think?
I agree with all of that. I mean, what? Yeah. What am I supposed to I retweeted.
I disagree. Well, there's one thing I disagree with.
What's that?
He called the last 3 years an utter waste. And
when did he say that on the sound? Because I saw it in the tweet and I just listened and I was listening to it. Did he say that on the sound?
He said it word for word. It was an utter waste of time. The past 3 years has been an utter waste of time. So I don't agree with that. Everything else, though,
it's funny.
Not wrong about everything else.
I retweeted that and I was like harsh, but I agree. And like the utter waste of time is what everyone jumped on. And it really was just a throwaway line. It felt like I literally did not hear it while listening to that. Now, maybe you could say I have ADHD, blah, blah, blah. I saw it though in the tweet that the tweet said that. And that's what I think pissed off a lot of people on Twitter and X and all that sort of stuff. But you listen to that, aside from that line, which to me was a throwaway line, what do you disagree with? This was supposed to be like their year in terms of they ran off 5 straight wins. The Chiefs, I retweeted that and I had a couple people, one responded with me trying to say like, oh, the Bills, they ran into a juggernaut of the Chiefs. Like, what are you kidding? The Chiefs were not a juggernaut this year. Like, give me a break. It became revisionist history when the Chiefs were going into that game. It was completely like, they're right for the pickings. Like, they're not the same. Then after they beat us, they were like, oh my God, they're back. They're like the greatest of all time. And it's like, whoa. You can't do that after they beat the Bills. Okay. And another person who responded to me, you'll love this, was like, you forgot about the drought. And I'm like, here we go. It's, to coin Tyler Dunn's phrase, it's drought brain. Like, oh, like you can't forget. Let me tell you what drought brain is in my head.
Okay.
I'm a guy who watched the Bills in the 90s when they were great and they had the best winning percentage of the 90s. And then we went into the drought. While going through the drought, I didn't sit there and go, man, I was too angry during the 90s. Like I shouldn't have like been so annoyed when they lost Super Bowls. I didn't do that. I went, what the hell? You wasted opportunities when you should have won the Super Bowl? Like, what if Super Bowl 25, the 7 or 8 things that should have happened? Like, and that's like the modern day version of 13 seconds. Like, like this, everything comes to an end at the end of the day. It does. And like, I think Josh Allen's window's still open. The window's still open. But if it ends and they don't win, you will look back and go, holy crap, we wasted these years of Josh Allen. So when he says that's a waste of time, look at it if they don't win going forward. You're going to come back and go, shit, they're going to say like, oh man, we should have done 13 seconds. We should have went for a wide receiver. What if we didn't go for Von Miller? You'll be yesing, but like, what about this? What about that? That to me is drought brain, because I know what it's like to go from a great era of football and to go into a horror show with the drought. And that's what I felt with going through the drought. It was more or less like, I wish they would have came through when they had talent. And so I'm going through this right now. So what he said, how can you say, like, the Bills, you said we talked about this last week. What is the legacy of Poyer, White, High? Like, you asked me, like, was it a failure? And I said no, because they went from the team not making the playoffs to being like a Super Bowl caliber team. Like, that's where they came from. But if you're telling me what about the last 3 years? Yeah, it was a failure. Sorry, it was. They lost in the divisional round 3 years in a row. And mind you, they lost two. I would say 2 in the 3 of those games, they did it to themselves. More so. Like, they had control of those Chiefs games at different junctures. The Bengals game, they got wiped off the face of the earth. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm sorry that, like, yeah, that guy was annoyed. And that guy, he normally is like a pro Bills guy. He loves the Bills. He's one of those guys.
Yes,
he loves them. And then everyone, not everyone, but people were like, oh, there's no such thing as Super Bowl bust and trolling him. Look, I agree with that. Hey, if Super Bowl bust is like, you want to say it's a made up term, fine. Aaron Quinn said that. I could get with that. But the Bills haven't even made it to an AFC championship game in 3 years. Like, you win the division. And I've seen people trying to defend the waste of time. But they won the division. You're the same person who like commends them for winning the division, who's also burying the Dolphins. So if the Dolphins are terrible and go extend Tua for the next 200 years, then why is it that impressive that you won the division if the team you barely beat is garbage in terms of how you view them? Yeah. Like, it's just, there's moments where on Bill's Twitter and Bill's X where I think you're ticked off that they lost. You're upset. Mm-hmm. And then like 2 days later, you get over it. And the way you cope with it is you find national people who are more upset about it than you are. And you retweet it and you go, oh, look at this guy. Like, let's get him. Like Nick Wright or this guy or freaking Joe from Queens. Like Tyler Dunn. Oh, he's mean about Sean McDermott. All this stuff. And it doesn't like worry about the team on the field right now.
Sure.
And it's just like what you just played. I was waiting for like the jugular of why, because I saw people upset about it, and the throwaway line was like he said it, and I get what the guy did. He put it in the tweet, and I honestly think a majority of people didn't even bother listening to it. They just saw the waste of a time, and were like, "Oh, let's go get him." But if you listen to that, what was wrong with what he said outside of that throwaway line? It felt like a throwaway line to me. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Well, first of all, the S word is barely a curse word. Let's just put it out there. I think
is the S word a curse word? Yes. My wife's saying it's a curse word.
All right, well, we'll roll it a curse word, so I'll make sure you don't do that next time. Okay. But anyway, that aside, on a serious note here, I agree with what he said. Every single thing, and even if you want to take the waste of time, I guess is what your perception of that would mean, because it has been wasted opportunities. And during his spiel, which, by the way, maybe what felt so weird about it was that would be a take I feel like I would hear days after they lost, not months later. That kind of felt heated and passionate. But anyway, when he says the Bills were at home against Kansas City and they were winning at halftime, does feel like a big wasted opportunity. The year before, you had the Bengals at home in the divisional round, and they were missing 3 of their starting offensive linemen. That's a wasted opportunity. You have the Chiefs, 13 seconds left in 2021. You're going on to host the AFC Championship game, and you blow it. So, wasted opportunities, absolutely. If you look at it that way, then I agree. Wasted time, I would say this. And maybe this is a little bit of drop brain on my end, but when you follow a football team, a content creator, but especially a fan, this is more for fans. From the first day of training camp until the very end, you wake up every day and you say, I'm following a Super Bowl caliber football team until they lose, until they're not. And to me, that doesn't feel like a waste of time because it just gives you something that you believe in and that you're looking forward to every day until the end when they lose. So I don't know. I guess it just matters. Is it a waste of time? Maybe if he would have said wasted opportunities, then I wouldn't even think this would be
What if
anything.
he said it was a failure the last 3 years? Would you have agreed with that?
Yes.
So like that's the thing. I think failure is more negative than waste of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel that's more like failure is like you suck. It's over. Like, where waste of time is just like, yeah, we just wait. I don't feel like that's as insulting in a way. And
Well, I think it's failure. It's failures because they could have went to 2 Super Bowls over the last 3 years.
But I think failure is harsher. I agree with failure, but I think that's harsher than the waste of time. I don't know. I think the passion, the reason why he had that, I think was because of the cuts. And I think that's why he had it. Because look, you look at those cuts, it was an emotional day on Twitter, like with those guys getting cut, even though like we talked about it, like Morris was a big deal.
I think the national people took it. I don't want to say they took it harder, but they took it as this is going to hurt this football team a lot more than I think the people are entrenched. We all agree that Mitch Morse is a big loss. We all agree on that. But Tre White wasn't even one of the best 2 corners on his football team anymore. And Jordan Poyer is not the Jordan Poyer who's an all-pro player. And you can make an argument that Taylor Rapp's just as good and younger and cheaper.
I mean, he could have been looking at it more, but again, he didn't say like their window's over. He was more or less saying like the phase 1, as you put it, was done. Which was like those guys were not last year, but like the years before, those were like the mainstay cornerstones. And one thing about like the Super Bowl, look, you get in the NBA, like LeBron James or like Steph Curry, if they don't make the finals and win it, it's a wasted year for them. Mm-hmm. It just is. That's what happens when you have a star team. It's not a wasted year for the Ravens. Why? Because the Ravens they missed the playoffs the last 2-3 seasons or whatever it was. They made it to the conference title game. That's a good year because you missed the playoffs. We've been in the divisional round 3 years in a row, and it's a waste when you keep losing in the divisional round. And that's kind of where I'm at in terms of like we are at the point of it is like you need to keep going. You have to extend yourself. You beat the Chiefs and then you lose to the Ravens the next week. It's a successful season because you at least beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, which you haven't done, and that's it. Like, why is this isn't hard to fathom of why it was, they failed or it was a waste of time. It was everything he said. Like, sorry, I mean, maybe he was over the top. Like, that's what talk radio people do. My God, it's like everyone turn on GR once in a blue moon and they'll be over the top. That's entertainment. That's how it is sometimes. Not every day, but yeah, he let it on pretty thick. But, I do too, but that doesn't mean like it's wrong. What he said was right. Like this was like, they were hot. The whole league this year was all about the conference being down because of injuries to everyone. The Chiefs were down. The Chiefs didn't become a juggernaut. They just got a little bit hot. And then the other teams kind of stumbled. The Ravens stumbled. The 49ers stumbled. The Bills stumbled. They weren't a juggernaut. Like, I'm sorry, go back to like, I hate, I had one guy just tweet me that, and the guy who, he's fine. Like, he's not an idiot, but like, just like, come on. Like, it's just like, you have to, we're at the point of like things, it's Super Bowl. You gotta expand your horizons. Like, especially divisional round, like big deal. Like, sorry, I don't care about the divisional round anymore. I don't. I care about give me the Final Four at least and have a good shot there. And then like until you don't, and the other thing too, if you want to like really try to like how isn't the last 3 years a waste of time? You look at like player development. You look at guys who come into their own. You know what I mean? And how many guys really like bursted onto the scene? You're like, man, I really like that guy. Like defense, Ed Oliver. Where else? That's it. Like everyone else, like Tre White, Poyer, Hyde, they were all good before the last 3 years. Milano, same with me. Ed Oliver's the one guy who the last 3 years we saw him come into his own. Offensively, who? James Cook. Let me tell you something. You know who I didn't care about having? A 1,000-yard running back. You know what I wanted? A 1,000-yard wide receiver. So that's great that James Cook came into his home during this whole the waste of 3 years. If they had more guys come into their own, then I would be like, oh, hey, it's not a waste of a year because we got this guy here. We got this guy. We got to build around these guys. Like, how many guys have you said? Like, am I wrong?
No. Well, first I gotta take a break.
I'm
gonna do cut you off. You were in a rant there. You were going. I don't agree with you.
I didn't swear.
Anyway.
I didn't swear.
I don't agree with you, so I'll address that.
Yeah,
right
address it when you come
break.
back because you're wrong.
All right, I am back here. Joe from Queens. All right, so we were talking about free agency and all this. And we're like, I agree. I agreed about Adam Schein and 90% of that. Right before the break, you talked about players coming into their own. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole of spending a half hour fighting about this, but where I don't agree, you said Ed Oliver. I think Christian Benford has come to his own. I know Terrell Bernard has come into his own. I think Khalil Shakir has come into his own. I can't say Dalton Kincaid because we only have 1 year to go by.
Wait a minute, hold on. Now
this team's got good young football players, Joe. I think
okay.
So I don't agree with you there. Go ahead.
Okay. First off, I don't know how you could say you don't count Dalton Kincaid, but you count Shakir, who did nothing until the last 6 weeks of the season.
But how do you count? That's coming into your own. That's not coming
into. No, you come into your own for at least a season or two. That's when you come into your own. Now you're hot,
he's young. You got. I mean,
no. You're the same guy who fell in love with Justin Rogers because he had an interception in his first game. I remember.
No,
that.
I didn't. No,
yes, you did. There's receipts online of that. No, you have to be at least like a year for me to say, oh, you came into your own. Not a 1 month like, oh, you were pretty good. Like yeah, sure. Like, and I guess more of like a game breaker. Like Ed Oliver's a Pro Bowler. Like he is a stud.
See, I don't agree with that. I don't think he's a stud. See, we're going on.
He's a stud? Why don't you think he's a stud? I mean, he didn't
why?
show. I mean, he didn't show up in the playoffs. I'll give you that.
Well, that's why.
But he was good for most of the season.
I don't care. He
got a $75 million contract from Shades, the GM.
I don't care.
So that tells me he's kind of good because they gave him that much money.
No, it tells me he's overrated then because players.
So now
great players play great in the playoffs.
I agree, but he's the one guy you can say that during that stretch he got better, like a lot better. They just
during the regular season. During the regular season,
yes, but I'm just saying, like you're already annoying Shakir as like the second wide receiver over here. You are. You just said he came into his own. He had one good month. He had one good month.
He's coming into his own. He's coming into his own.
You know what? Robert Foster had a good month too. You probably wanted to extend him until the next decade, probably.
I said he's coming into his own, and I do. And so is Christian Benford. They got some good young players on this football team.
But I guess I was more or less like legit like Pro Bowl caliber. I know Pro Bowl doesn't mean anything. Pro Bowl caliber. Like Benford, I don't think he's going to a Pro Bowl. I mean, he was good, but like he's not like. I'm just like studs, like that way you could say, oh, this is a guy who's going to be
a Matt Milano. You're talking about like a Matt Milano.
Like a Matt Milano, a Poyer, a Hyde from like I think years before. That's all I'm saying.
I think Bedford's on that track. I mean, Terrell Bernard. I'm sorry. I think Terrell Bernard is definitely
the guy. Track. I wasn't here to give you crap when you hated him forever.
One of my worst takes ever. I wasn't the only one though. I kicked myself.
You weren't the only one.
I have fun with myself. 90% of people thought that dude.
Yeah, of course you have fun with yourself.
Nobody was talking up Terrell Bernard at training camp last year. I promise you. So anyway, I do want to pull up one thing because I do want to talk Sabres, but I want to pull up another fan question because again, not doing a show this week. But somebody says easily can see the Bills. Not somebody at Long Live the Chill says easily can see the Bills missing the playoffs. Buffalo barely made it in this year, and a healthy Bengals team and Colts team plus improved Dolphins make the Bills a bit desperate. Let me say this before I turn over to you because some of this I believe and some I don't. I could see the Bills missing the playoffs this coming year. I could have seen the Bills missing the playoffs last year. They were 6-6 and in danger. But a healthy Bengals team, yes. A Colts team, why are we assuming the Colts are going to be good? I have no idea why. And an improved Dolphins team. Where are the Dolphins improved they're about to lose Christian Wilkins. They're about to tie up a lot of money into Tua, who I don't think deserves it. They cut Xavier Howard. Who's to say the Dolphins are going to be improved? But the Bills missing the playoffs, could you easily see that or no? You still think this team's good enough right now?
I think they can make the playoffs. I mean, they did barely make it in, but they would have been 10-7, like if they lost that game and not made it. And I'm trying to think, like who can I see them coming through? Like, look, the Chargers are a team I could see. Like they had a lot of talent. The Chargers, like they had a lot of talent.
They got a fire sale going now.
Yeah, they're about to fire a lot of people. So maybe that's not the best one. The Colts, maybe. Like, it depends what they do in the free agency market.
Sure.
I will say that, like, look, teams did, like, I know the Jets, like Aaron Rodgers, like
Jacksonville.
I mean, the Jets, I know everyone hates the Jet, like Aaron Rodgers, like F him, but like if he comes back to what he was 2 years ago, they're lethal.
Sure.
But I can't see them missing the playoffs.
No.
I just can't. Because look, they are gonna make some moves. But I have to see what the other teams do. Like that's I gotta see that. I can't sit there and go, oh, they're gonna easily miss the playoffs.
It's a good point. You make a good point. And I'll tell you what, this goes back to what Adam Schein said a little bit here about wasted time, wasted opportunities, how you wanted to find it. The Bills' window is not closed whatsoever. But will they get an opportunity to be at home against the Kansas City Chiefs and up at halftime of a playoff game again? Will they get the Kansas City Chiefs within 13 seconds of beating them? Will they get the Cincinnati Bengals with a half-mangled offensive line at home again in the playoffs? Not so sure about that. So the window's not closed, but their best opportunities might have already been behind them.
I mean, the window is shrinking as of right now. It's open, but it's shrinking. And I can tell you who I think is the reason for it shrinking. I think it's the coach. I think it's the GM with their freaking Bible of the complementary football, where like we have to put money in both sides of the ball and more into the defense. At least I think so. And ignoring your offense, especially on the wide receiver side of the ball. And that's where I think like it's there still, but like other windows are going to be open for other teams. It's a quarterback driven league. And we're in like a lot of teams have good quarterbacks right now. Mm-hmm. And that's something like, and you know, you want to talk about regret. Like I think about how, the Bills where they are with the cap is because of Josh Allen. Like when you get a franchise quarterback, the cap is going to like F with you a little bit, unfortunately. But like, man, I think about what how the Texans have like a stud, like, they had a stud rookie quarterback. They got like 4 years before they got to pay him, and they should go all in on free agency and say, F this.
They can. They can.
A ton of money. And I think about the Bills where the Bills like Allen, no one knew before year 3 that Allen was going to be a god. The Allen stands, they always did, but they had no evidence really. But like, if Allen had like become awesome like right on the start, then it would have been like great, like go balls to the wall. We don't have to pay him till later. But by the time we knew what we had, you're going into your 4th year. You only got 1 more year at him at the rookie scale, and then it was over. And like I'm kind of envious of that. In terms of like that's why the Bears got to trade Justin Fields, because it's like they're gonna have to pay him, and then like you could get Caleb Williams for cheap. Like it's a no-brain situation. Even if Fields and he's okay, but like if he was better, like you got to reset it a little bit. You don't want to get caught in there or be like the Giants.
I was really hoping we're going to transition to the Sabres in a second. I was really hoping that Chris Jones would not sign with the Chiefs. I wanted him to go somewhere else, especially the NFC. So freaking bad. And last point about Josh, window open, window closed. That's neither here nor there. But what I will say is this. Such a good feeling to have a good quarterback, because you look at just even this Sunday here in the NFL, Mac Jones, a bust, gets traded to the Jaguars. It's funny too. That shitty crop of quarterbacking classes, from a couple of years ago. Yeah, but they were 3-1 against the Bills this year. Yeah, that is insane. Matt Jones beat them. Zach Wilson beat them. Trevor Lawrence beat them. They were 3-1 against the Bills this year. But anyway, you look at him getting dealt. Baker Mayfield, not long before we came on the air here on Sunday Night to Tape, 3 years, $100 million. By the way, good for him. That dude was hanging on by a thread.
You hated him.
I still don't think he's good. But to his credit, he was he sucked in Cleveland. Then he bounced around, the Rams.
He sucked in Cleveland. He had 2 good years and 2 bad years. But go on. You just hate him because Skip Bayless likes him. I hate Skip Bayless, but he was a backup. He was fucking hanging out. She can't hear you. I got headphones on, so it's good.
All right. All right. Anyway, Baker Mayfield hanging on by a string. The backup quarterback. You're like, maybe he'll be in the years. Another Mitch Trubisky. That was the path I felt like he was headed on. Then he gets a chance at Tampa, starts, leads them to the playoffs, and gets $100 million. Good for him, man.
Yeah, we just said it at the same time. Good for him.
Kyle Okpso got traded. The Sabres made a couple moves. I follow. I don't know how closely you follow Sabres Twitter. I know you follow.
No, I do. I mean, I did watch the game against Edmonton, or at least the third period and overtime I watched.
Yeah, me too.
Offside challenge is terrible, but go ahead.
I feel like Kyle Okpso, he's a good guy. He's a good leader. He's a stand-up guy. So many times when this team loses, it plays like shit. Guys sneak out the back of a locker room. In fact, I remember, a couple times where not this current crop, but back in the day, I remember covering the Sabres and being in locker rooms, and certain guys would stand up and talk, and other guys would whittle out. Unless they played well, then they'd be staying at their locker. But anyway, he was a captain. He held his own accountability. Good guy. And it wasn't terrible on the ice. Like, he's a good fourth line guy. You could do a hell of a lot worse than Kyle Okpso on your team. But people were talking up to him and comparing him to Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. And that's what pissed me off on Twitter over the past couple of days. I'm like, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer helped build a winner. They came here. They were the core.
They also made the Pro Bowl. I mean, he did not.
Kyle Okpso got $7 million a year to do nothing, offensively do nothing. And he is like the poster child for the underachieving, woeful, mediocre playoff drought Buffalo Sabres. It's not just him, but that type of move and that type of player. He represents that more than he represents a Micah Hyde or Jordan Poyer. Come on, man. That was
yeah. I mean, that comparison doesn't make sense.
I heard a lot. I heard it plenty.
Well, I wasn't on Twitter.
Maybe because they're good guys, they're stand-up guys. I don't know, but
I don't know. I definitely felt like when he got traded, there were definitely media guys who really liked him. Like, he was a go-to guy. Waro commended Kevin Adams for sending him to Florida, which I was like, okay, great. Like, I'm glad he's going to a cup team, a contending team. My whole thing of Poso is this: it's hard to criticize him only because look, he had a concussion issues. He was out for a year because of that. He came back, and that was serious. Tim Grant had a piece I remember when it dropped years ago, and it was bad for him. So he came back from nothing, and he definitely wasn't the same guy he was with the Islanders. With the Islanders, he was scoring 20+ goals easily a year. Then he came here, he had the one good year, the first year, then the concussion stuff happened, and he was kind of down, I think for a couple years, and he became a leader. I don't know if I would say he's the poster boy for what's wrong with that team. He was just one of the guys. I don't even know who the poster boy would be. It would be Terry Pagula to me. And then the GMs that he's fired and everyone else, he was a role guy. He was all right.
He got a 6 years, $42 million contract.
Sure.
But crazy.
Yeah, but again, injuries. I think injuries really did derail it a little bit. And
he's a fourth liner, man.
Well, no, he is. Yeah, I mean, he's older now. But I don't have this I don't know. I don't have this giant connection to him. Am I gonna root for the Panthers? No, I don't really care. He was fine. I don't know. He was a disappointment as a free agent, like you said. I don't. He became a role guy, and I don't know. I don't have the vitriol to hate him.
I don't hate him at all. He's a great person. He's a and again,
I'm saying hate him on the ice. You don't like his play, or you're saying he was a not a great free agent.
He's doo-doo. He's doo-doo.
Okay, well then, I mean, I don't think he was that doo-doo. I mean, he was a third, fourth liner guy. I don't
until the last year he re-signed this past year. Until then, he did not get fourth line money. He's supposed to be a star. That would be like signing. Let me think of a good example. Somebody who I would consider the football equivalent. Because again, some people said Hyde and Poyer. Guess what? Ain't them. Let me give you a guy off the top of my head, and maybe I'm trying to think who could be a football equivalent of Kyle Okpso. Dawson Knox, maybe. Pretend Dawson Knox is a lot older. Dawson Knox is a good dude. He does a couple things well. Dawson Knox is incredibly overpaid. That's what Kyle Okpso is. to the Buffalo Sabres.
I mean, look, I'm looking at his numbers. 2021-22, he scored 21 goals. That's 2 years ago. He scored 11 last year. He scored 12 this year. Like I don't know. I don't have. Again, he had concussion issues. I can't crap on a guy who had really bad concussion issues. Like from what I remember, he was like throwing up, like randomly. Like I wish I had the article, but like I'm not gonna like. I just don't. I don't get either side really. I don't get like being pissed off. Like, oh, he was the poster boy of the Sabres being bad, or one of the main guys, or how great he was.
He's a face of the team that is stunk year after year.
I don't think he was a face. I thought Jack Eichel was the face of the team, and then before him was, you could even say like Vanek was a little bit from a couple of years when they missed the playoffs.
Well, he was paid like one of the faces of the team, which by the way, I don't hold that against him either, because I mean, what's he going to do? Say no? I'm not going to take this money, dumb GM. You're going to pay me this money. I guess what? I'm going to take it. You're an idiot.
I'll tell you what pisses me off. I don't know if it was on your rundown, but did you have Girgensons on there for us to talk about?
Nope.
Well, I'm going to talk about him. Yeah. So Kevin Adams talked about him, and like he was like this. He basically overvalued him. Like, we're talking contract with him. He's an integral part of the fabric of this team. Wait
a second. Did you just ask me if Girgensons was on the rundown? Did you not read the rundown?
I did, but I forgot about it. I'm a busy man. I'm a busy man. Okay, I'm a busy man. Don't get in my rant. Way in my rant. Like, he was the fabric of the team. Like, are you kidding me? That's a guy. Let me tell you something. Darcy Regier picked this guy in the first round. That guy pisses me off, because I remember when he got signed, they tried to present like him and Grigorenko were going to be like 1 and 2 centers for the Sabres right away. And it was a disaster. It didn't work. And this guy has been on the team every year in and year out, and all the metrics, the choruses, everything. This guy doesn't belong here. Like, he's not good enough. But because, at least I've heard this, and some people have, Mike Harrington alluded to it, that Terry Pegula loves him and wants him to keep re-signing him forever. He reminds me of the Chris Kelsey of the Bills, where like he was a guy who Ralph Wilson allegedly loved, and they kept extending him, and he did nothing. He was overpaid. He wasn't very good. The media loved him because he was a go-to guy back then, but he wasn't good, and they kept extending him. And I was like, why are you extending this guy? He's not good enough. Like, get a better guy at defensive end. And like, they're gonna re-sign this guy again, maybe. And if it's because of Terry, and that's where I go back to like where my confidence is with the Sabres. I talked about this like a couple weeks ago. Like, I go back to that 2020 press conference when they were basically like, we're cutting staff and everything. And like, Terry Pegula is very involved with that team. And I do not trust Terry Pegula to build a freaking an elementary school hockey team, let alone trying to help build the Sabres. And if he's going in there going, we got to sign Girgensons because I like him because he's big, or whatever the hell his platitudes are to describe him, like, that was stupid. And people, that to me, he's a guy who, like, at least Okpso, I kind of feel bad. At least Okpso scored more goals and he was a leader. Girgensons has done nothing. He's been on the third, fourth line for as long as I can remember. He was on the team when I cared about the team. And like for Darcy Regier, yeah, like I was about to say Darcy, for Kevin Adams to be like, oh yeah, we gotta like look into signing this guy because he's a part of this culture. What's he done? He hasn't done anything. At least Okpso scored 21 goals 2 years ago. That guy hasn't done anything. His best year was when Ted Nolan was here, I think. So yeah. So
that's a good point, man. That's actually a really good point.
Well, thanks. I'm here daily.
Maybe Zegmans Girgensons is the actual legit true face here of the shitty era of Buffalo Sabres hockey. And speaking of, I had Mike Harrington on the show last week, and I got to tell you, man,
you didn't ask him my question, by the way.
I did not.
We need to talk about that after this. Go ahead.
They want to go there, but
I'll go there.
Talked a lot of hockey stuff, and talked about the team just not being able to attract players. The Pat Kane conversation came up, so on and so forth. I want to play a clip. I want to play a second clip, 2 clips here in one episode today. I talk about Buffalo, but I want to play this clip and then get a reaction from you. He talks about things that I think the average fan doesn't really think about. He's like, why did you go sign this guy? Why don't you trade for this guy? Listen to Mike Harrington here, folks, and then we'll come back and I'll get Joe's reaction. Great. That doesn't want to come here right now.
Sure. And you look at what happened in the offseason, Eric Johnson and Connor Clifton came in free agency. They chose to be here. They had talked to other players. Clifton had seen with his own eyes in Boston. Eric Johnson was very close with Kyle Okpso. They chose to be here. people aren't going to choose to be here again. The drought has continued. And like you said, now you're at the trade deadline and people say, trade for this guy, trade for that guy. It's not that easy. Tremendous number of no trade clauses in the NHL now. Too many, in my opinion. And guys are going to have Buffalo on their list. I'm not going there. Adams already told us there were a bunch of guys he tried. We believe one of them was Chris Tanev, the defenseman of Calgary, who played a year at RIT. He wasn't coming to Buffalo. He went to Dallas because he can win a Stanley Cup in Dallas. What's he going to do here? I think one of their plans, absolutely, going into the season, especially with Quinn out, was they were going to sign Patrick Kane. And they were on a Zoom with Patrick Kane less than a week before he signed. They were right to the end. Where did Patrick Kane go? Now, that's a little bit different. One of the reasons he went, a big reason he went, was Alex DeBrincat plays for the Red Wings. That's a guy he was tight with from Chicago. But if the Red Wings were in the hole in the Atlantic Division and the Sabres were flying like we thought they could be, probably Patrick Kane thinks longer about dealing with all the sideshow of Buffalo and coming here. Now they're back, like you said. Who's coming here? Who's coming here on a no-trade clause, waiving it for Buffalo? Who's coming here this summer in free agency? Kevin Adams is in a rough spot. He's going to have to make trades for guys who have no trade protection, but that's dicey. We saw what happened with Colin Miller. When they acquired him from Vegas, he did his first media phone conference. It was like somebody had stolen his dog. I got traded from Vegas to Buffalo. Really? I mean, they have a problem now in recruiting again, and we thought that was over.
All right, so that was Mike Harrington on the show last week. I don't really, I said I would ask her your reaction to that. I guess I still will. I mean, that's not really something that's surprising. I don't think Mike uncovered any stones there with that statement, but it is pretty telling about the state of the franchise that guys just don't want to come here, and pretty much any player who has a no trade in the NHL, or most players, have Buffalo on that list. And good luck trying to get free agents to come here, which just makes it sound like you're going to have to do it yourself with this core group of players.
Yeah, there's definitely that. Like, they've lost. The drought has been terrible. I think hockey players want to play in warmer cities because a lot of them are, I know it sounds stupid, but a lot of them are Canadian. They're like, go send me to the warmer climate.
You're right. It's so different now, though. I bet you it was never like that. Like LA, Florida, they used to be like, ugh, you're going to
tax breaks, who knows? But yeah, them losing has been a big issue. I think that's how they have a system in play where they want the internal guys that they can control. Like, you go through the system, then they give you a bunch of money. Like, at the start, we have no, because you don't become a free agent until I think you're 26, I believe. Like, you could be 7 years, or like the team controls your rights. And I think that's why Casey Middlestat left, because they think, hey, we got other young guys going to come up and we don't want to pay you. So we're going to let you go and have a prospect come in. Like, Darcy Regier used to do that all the time. Tyler Ennis and Tim Kennedy would come in and they would replace the forward veterans that would leave. Like, the Mike Reels would leave, and they this guy's going to come in and be the replacement because they didn't want to pay him too much money, etc. So yeah, they have a recruiting problem. It's a big one. It's been there for a while, but they've never been, for as long as I've been around, they have never been a giant free agency team to go after guys. During Darcy Regier's teams, the 05 to 07, they didn't go into free agency all that much. It was development within and a couple of trades. And yeah, like Mike said, there's a lot of teams that have no trade calls, maybe, clauses. Maybe they can ask them if they would waive them before. But I still think the Sabres don't want to do that. I think the Sabres, they are entrenched in their system of drafting and developing. And that's why they haven't made moves. Now, maybe you want to say it's because of the no trade clause. Yeah, I'm sure some of that has to do, but I think it's their system. They can control. That is a franchise. I don't give a crap what anyone says. That franchise is bleeding money. And I think they're still under the cap. They can go out there and sign a guy. You tell me no one's going to come here if they bring Terry Pegula gold there. They'll come here a free agent would, but I don't think they want to, because I think they are all about development. Yeah. And that's why they haven't made big moves. I mean, the Middlestat move was pretty big, obviously, but that's why they've been really, a bit weird about it. But yeah, they definitely did. Look, they wanted to bring like when they traded for Alex Tuck, it was all like, oh my God, he's from Buffalo or the area, or he's from or Syracuse. I think he was from. I don't even remember where he was from, but like they get anyone that's from New York State, they're like salivating, like, oh man, he's gonna love it here because he loves snow and skiing and beer and wings, probably.
Well,
so like
sure.
But I don't think, they have a recruiting problem, but I don't think they care because I think they want to develop within and just draft. They got all these prospects. They could easily trade these prospects for other guys,
Well, not according to what Mike is saying. Not
well,
as
like
easily,
some. I mean, look,
a lot of players, more and more players now get these no trades in their contracts.
Well, we
don't want to come to Buffalo.
Sure, but we don't know like which ones are all.
Sure, we don't know.
Like I don't know. Like look, we have to wait for like the Athletic to release an article that's when they interviewed like 100 players off the record, and they're like, yeah, that's the place we want to go. But yeah, it is. It definitely is in the bottom of the tiers. But but again, I don't think the Sabres want to make those type of trades. I think they want to stay within their budget. They want to have cheap young labor that they can extend, and that's it. So that's my take. I'm far from that, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, I agree with most of it. They do want to develop from within, but they've also given out 4 huge contracts to players they've signed long term over the last 2 years. Look, Buffalonians don't like hearing this, and I understand it. It's offensive. It sounds offensive, but a lot of people don't want to come live in Buffalo. They don't want to play hockey in Buffalo. A lot of people who would defend Buffalo to the death are people who've been there the whole life. They don't know any different. And that's not wrong, but it's the way it is.
Well,
you get guys who could go to Tampa or LA or Dallas or even like Detroit or Boston, these bigger cities, these bigger markets, in a lot of cases, better weather. So why would you want to come to Buffalo? There's not all that much to do. People fall in love with Buffalo when they get here. We know that. But it's not the most exciting city. And the team's not good. I mean, again,
I think it's the biggest thing is it's not good. Them being terrible is the big problem. It's
the biggest, but it's not the only one. And then taxes to some people are going to matter being in New York State when you go play for the Florida Panthers or the Lightning. I'm just saying there's a lot of things. Let me give you a hot take too before we get out of here.
Oh, hot take. Shit.
A lot of people, no, I'm being serious too. And I get why, trust me. Mike Harrington hates a lot of fans and doesn't respect a lot of bloggers. We all know that. A lot of fans hate Mike Harrington. A lot of bloggers don't like Mike Harrington either. I get it. Two-way street. I'm not here to say who's right, who's wrong. Mike could be a dick to some of them. There's no question about it. Dismissive. In fact, I can't stand it. And I've said something to him multiple occasions through the years. But Mike is one of the best writers in this market of any sport. He is an outstanding reporter. He's an outstanding columnist. He is one of the few, you're always talking about the Bills and the bro beat and all this stuff. And because they don't ask enough tough questions. And you're not wrong about a lot of that. There's not a lot of hard questions answered or asked at Bills press conferences. Mike Harrington will straight up ask the tough questions that most people don't. That game against Edmonton on Saturday, he's the one. He asked Granato, yo, what's up with Jeff Skinner? Essentially get it benched. You know what I'm saying? He'll ask those questions. Mike is a great reporter, an old school throwback type of reporter, man.
Look at you pandering Pat over here. Look at that. Look at you there.
Can't help myself.
Okay. You know what? I wanted to bring this up and then we'll leave out of here. Why does he hate Chad Dominicus so much? That's what I wanted you to ask. Like he's yelling. Here's the thing. So like you and I go back with Mike for a while, like through our blog days. And I remember when Mike used to be like a friend of the blogs. Like he used to meet bloggers out, like Sabres bloggers way back in the day. And then like it just fell apart. Like when him and Chad are going at it. And like he's telling people that Chad doesn't cover the team. And I'm like, dude, like he covers the team. He's freaking out. He has a paid subscription. Yeah. He covers them. Like, why are you doing this, dude? Like,
he's not in the locker room. He's not in the locker room. He's not in the press box. That's Mike's definition of covering the team.
What? I'm sorry, Mike, but give me a break, Mike. Like, there's national guys.
I love Chad.
You don't think he's covering the team?
I do think Chad's covering the team.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. When you said I agree, I thought you
I think he covers the team outstandingly.
Yeah. Like, so like, but like to say like, oh, he's not covering the team. Like, are you telling me like a national guy who doesn't go to the locker room is not covering the team? Like I don't think the TNT guys are going there every week or every day. They're not. like you could cover the team any way you want. Like, is that saying like you're not covering the Bills?
Maybe,
Like
maybe
we talk about them, we look up their stats. Like, sorry, we don't ask them questions. I'm sorry. Like, look, I haven't been like follow. I may have to start blog on media crime blog at this point because like the media on media crime is dead right now in Buffalo.
yeah,
But like
it
they seem to be going at each other, and it's just like I don't know.
Well,
Mike's not.
They've been doing this for years. Those
Oh, I
two
know,
guys.
but it's just like I don't know. Like it's just kind of.
I think I think Mike is an old school old newspaper journalist, columnist, and resistant to the new wave of people that come in, resistant to analytics and advanced stats and numbers. And to him, if you're not in the locker room, you're not around the team every day, how could you possibly know about the team?
Well, keep it to yourself, I
Well,
guess. Like
there's fairness to some of what he says. I don't agree with the Chad stuff. I think Chad brings something unique and different to the
Chad
market.
does great, like I don't get it, but he does great stuff for the most part. But like he has sources. He's broken stories before.
Yes.
I mean, like he did kind of mess up the lean thing a little bit because he said that deal was supposed to happen, and it took like 3 months for it to happen. But you know, that's one strike out of like a lot of home runs he's hit. But he's done a great job. Like I don't know. I sometimes think I wish Mike would just, if he's hearing this, he's probably not, but like chill out, dude. Like, especially on that dude, like, I don't know. It's just, you know, I get it. Like there's been a war between him and the bloggers. As like I said, I could tell you when it started. It happened when Terry Pagula bought the team and he was pissed off because Terry Pagula wasn't talking at press conferences and like the bloggers all were on Terry's side. And you know what? The hilarious thing is like he was right. Because like while everyone was sticking up for the Pagulas and he was like, these guys are idiots, they don't know what they're doing. He was right. He ended up being right. And it's like, and then he doesn't want to like he's like, instead of it, I don't know. It's just kind of weird. But like he seems to have
let me say this
issues with him. I would like him. Like, you know what? You should one quick thing. You should have me on a podcast with him so I could talk to him, ask him the hard questions. Instead of you pandering to him every time he's on here and be like, what the hell happened to you? Like, why do you hate bloggers all of a sudden? Like, what's wrong? Like, my God, there's other ways to get your point of view across. Like, other ways to cover it. There's a lot of room out there, buddy.
I think so. You want, on one hand, you want reporters to be tougher on the team and ask the tough questions.
Yes. And I'm fine with that. Like, you're right. Mike
it comes with the territory. It's in personality.
Even though he kind of sticks up for Granato a little bit too much. Stick up to him a little too much. Let me just say that. But
I know that he does because me and him go. Look, again, I'm friends with Mike, and I love having him on the show. It's one of my best. No, but we bicker. We argue, not to the extent him and Chad do on Twitter. I think they got each other blocked or whatever. But here's the point I was trying to tell you. So going back to the Bills side again here. You want guys to be tougher on the team. You want them to be more tricky, ask the tough questions. It kind of comes with the territory. If you're an old school, hard-nosed journalist, chances are you're going to have some dickheadness to you. Is that a word? Dickheadness?
Yeah, and that's fine. But why is he taking it on bloggers? Like, why? Leave him alone.
Tim Graham has that kind of like, he can be a dick to some people, or some people consider him a dick. I get it, man. A lot of these guys, the Adam Beniti, the guys who actually, John Worrell, even though I have many issues with John, but these guys who are going to ask questions or be tough, it kind of comes with the territory. That's what you're going to get.
But you don't have to be tough. You don't have to be tough to Chad. I don't know. Like Chad, I think is a pretty I'm pandering Joe to Chad over here, but he's pretty objective. He's not a homer. He's not tweeting out Sabres memes like the Bills content bros do.
Chad talked a lot of shit to Mike as well. That's all. I'm just saying.
But like a lot of it did come from, I don't know. I wish they would they don't have to make amends, but my God,
it's stupid. It's stupid.
It's just petty. Mike
I don't think Mike
can't help himself. Mike's block list is longer than the Kembe Mutombo's block list.
I don't think Mike doesn't respect what Chad brings to the table, or doesn't.
And he should. Like, what is it? I would like to ask Mike, like, who do you respect? Like that talks about the Sabres. Is it only people who are down at the arena? Is that it? Like, does he not respect like Jeremy White because he's not at the arena? Does he not respect Shope or Bulldog? Does he not respect you because you're not at the arena? Like, come on,
I get it.
Like, give me a break. Like, you can't just. I get it. Like, he has a personal thing with him, and Chad's talk shit to him too, and fine. Like, I get that, but like, you can't. when you have these glowing declarations, like he doesn't cover the team, you can say like he's wrong, like he was like say he's I don't know, like when you say like he doesn't cover the team, like come on, dude, he covers the team.
Mike is look, to wrap this up. This is
Does
going to be
Pat McAfee, your boy, not cover the NFL because he's not in the locker room?
It's going to be an easy out. But what I'm going to say is,
oh God,
I really don't give a shit about how Mike Harrington acts towards other people.
Oh come on,
I care about the job that he does.
Don't you want to be friends with everyone? Don't you want to have friends? Don't you want to be friends with Mike and have other friends be with Mike too? Like you guys can have like a chicken wing fest at the Imperial Pizza. With, like,
you want a real show? There it is. I'll try to get a wing show between Chad Dominicus, myself, and
that's what you should do.
Harrington.
You should do like solving media crime problems.
I love Chad. I just did a show a couple months ago with Chad at Imperial Pizza, man. So I mean, I love Chad. I think what he does is great. I think there's definitely here's the thing. I think there's a big market for people like Chad and what they do. I think there's a good market for podcasting on both sides. I think some of the traditional newspaper guys are resistant to that because
why is he resistant to that?
They're
Get
not
Harrington back on here. I want to next time you have Harrington on,
they're not
I'm ambushing him. I want to know what's
they're
wrong
not
with them.
dinosaurs, but I think what they do writing for papers and stuff like that is becoming the old school on its way out thing. Anyway, enough fucking Mike Harrington and
you're swearing again. You're swearing.
You said I could.
I just want to say I only said the S word once during this entire podcast.
Yeah, but you said I could. So
I know, but I'm saying me, like I should be commended because that's hard for me not to swear. And I was fired up. Yeah. So I think are we done? Did anything happen?
We're done because I'm literally losing. I've literally lost my voice. I can feel it in my throat right now.
Oh no.
I've been as we've been podcasting here, kind of sneaking off and looking at my phone just to make sure nothing crazy happened in the NFL on Sunday before this ends up getting dropped on YouTube later. But anyway, that is going to do it for sure for today's episode. Make sure you Make sure you follow Joe on Twitter at Buffalo.
No, don't follow me.
I don't
block Pat if you want. Yeah, I don't follow you either, so we're good on that. Look at that sad picture of Brandon Beane. My God, pick a better picture next time. That poor man.
All right, guys, we'll be back with another episode tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll have some Buffalo news to talk about, or Buffalo Bills stuff to talk about.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.